Hello, well, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking about reciprocity.com. The E is spelled with a 3. I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And in this particular video, I really wanted to talk about software that can help you as a PhD business researcher. This is part of my Thesis Help series. I'm trying to put out videos that are as helpful as possible to graduate students or people thinking about going into graduate school in any sort of way. And I thought this would be really useful to put this out in terms of, what exactly are useful tools that anybody can use or anybody should use if they're thinking about going into graduate school. Maybe this might help you sort of planning out what kind of software that you should use to get into graduate school and whatnot. Just getting your mind set around that. And, what you'll find out is pretty simple. It's pretty easy stuff in terms of what I'd recommend. And I just kind of put them in order in terms of importance. The first one is some sort of word processing software, whatever that is. You're going to be writing a lot. I recommend Microsoft Word. The reason why it's because it's currently at the standard. It might change in the future. I don't know, but generally it's the standard for anybody that is writing. So you're going to pass your work around. I know a lot of people might choose different like LaTeX or something like that, but in my field, it definitely is the standard, and not a lot of people actually use LaTeX, even though it looks really pretty. In other fields, it is, like LaTeX would be sort of preferred if you're more in a scientific field, but in this particular field, in the sort of College of Business, you probably, for the most part, Microsoft Word is suitable. The other thing is using a citation software, some sort of citation software where you can create a data set of all the different things that you've read in the past. I truly prefer EndNote. I think it's just the oldest, and that's the reason why I recommend it. It's maybe not the best or anything, and that's typically with all of this software, and that's actually one thing that I'd like to point out. A lot of this software is not necessarily the most state-of-the-art, but at the same time, it's just the stuff that's most used, and generally that makes your life a heck of a lot easier. I've tried using novel things in the past, and it just makes it a lot more difficult because nobody else is using it. So then you end up sort of abandoning it. The first thing is, citation software, EndNote is most used, it's been around a long time. It's sort of robust because there's a lot of issues that have been sorted out, but it's, at the same time, it kind of has a clunky appearance, but, it's most used, and I just recommend it just because of that. And when you start passing your papers around, you find out that most people use EndNote and that it's sort of the standard. The third thing is having some sort of statistical package, whatever that is. There's lots of different ones out there. SPSS, there is R, there is Stata. There's a tremendous amount. You can use MATLAB, you can use, I don't know, off the top of my head, there's probably a dozen that you can possibly use. I truly prefer Stata. Stata. It is the best package because it was designed by economists, and it also has this sort of quasi-open software sort of feel to it. So it's proprietary software, it's wholly owned sort of software, but then at the same time, there's packages that people write that are sort of user-generated, and that really has a nice feel. Now, R is becoming quickly a sort of competitor that is quite good. The problem with R is that a lot of the people that have been around for a long time are not quite familiar with it, so you're going to have to teach people how to use it. And then B, the other thing to think about is that that it's not custom made specifically for looking at panel data and things like that, sort of along the stuff that's more interested from an economist perspective or a sociologist perspective. It's really suitable as a general statistical tool. So but at the same time, R has some really wonderful, Stata sort of falls behind in terms of graphical things, and R definitely has some tools that are much more prettier. You can analyze data a lot more in a prettier fashion. So that's kind of the trade-off there. But I still prefer Stata because it's got tools that are, it's just stuff that you would use in analyzing panel data, for example. So it's really customized from the perspective of somebody that's analyzing, large amounts of panel data or stuff that economists would be interested in, or sort of the sociologists would be interested in. The fourth thing that you should get is just a general spreadsheet package. You'll notice that a lot of these things I recommend are just Microsoft products because they're the easiest and they're kind of standard. So I prefer Excel in this circumstance because it's really easy to use and a lot of people use it in the past. And once you get using it, you find out it's extremely powerful in terms of a tool to use. The fifth thing is presentation software, and I prefer, again, PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint. Reason is it's a standard. I've tried different ones and looked at different ones. I've used Prezi in the past. In fact, I did an entire course using Prezi. And it just makes things really tough because it's not portable and not a lot of people using it. So I just recommend using things in just simplifying your life as much as possible. Using PowerPoint, for example. It's also probably going to be, on the cheaper side in terms of, once you actually get going and once you have this on most people are going to have this on their laptop, so I just recommend that. The sixth thing that's important is making sure you have a PDF software. Again, Adobe Acrobat is going to be your best one, and you're going to be reading a lot of papers, and that's going to be the best thing to use. And then finally, the seventh thing, and I just use, so that this is an internet browser is the seventh thing, and I just use Chrome. Google Chrome is really good. It's far better than any other internet browser out there, and it's tending to dominate at this moment. So I'd highly recommend using Google Chrome. It's free and it's easy, and it's got a lot of tools that are in there that make your just life a lot easier. So those are the things I'd recommend. There's probably other things that I'm forgetting, but those are the things that truly are the most common things. So you'll notice that they're not all that sophisticated in any sort of way, and that's on purpose to make my life as simple as possible. But at the same time, that there's just not a lot of stuff that you do. The biggest thing that you're going to be doing if you're going to choose a PhD, and particularly going into a business school, is you're going to be doing a lot of reading and writing. And you might do, depending on what field you go into, if you're doing more on the analytical side, I prefer MATLAB, for example, has some really nice tools in there that you might use. But in general, you're still going to be defaulting to a lot of these things as well. And you're going to be using Stata, for example, a lot. Those things are really, really common. It's going to make your life a lot easier. You might be taught in sort of, if you're going in the less analytical perspective, you might be taught in terms of SPSS, for example, in a statistical tool. I would highly encourage you to learn Stata because it's going to make your life easier, or R, because it's going to make your life easier in the long run, because they're really, really powerful tools. And the rest of it, and people are actually saying things that you should need X, Y, and Z. Unless you need it, I would not get it, because there's not a lot of things that you're going to need going forward other than the capability to read, to write, and as well as search on the internet. Those are really big things, and some sort of statistical technique to analyze that. And you'll notice that all of these things are sort of geared towards that in terms of reading and writing and analyzing the data. So it's just the 3 R's, right? Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those are the only things you're going to be doing in business school, especially if you do a PhD in any of the fields in a business school. Those are really important things. That's what you should be worrying about. So hopefully you like this video. I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Bye.